All right, let's just do the homework this week. Just the homework. Chapter 15 is all I'm going to have you do. The quiz, if you want to do a quiz, you can send me the outline of your paper by Monday night. But it's optional, so if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. But if you want to replace one of your poor quiz grades, do the outline and send it to me. Organize your thoughts. Um, but let's see. Let's do this homework. Should be easy. It's chapter 15. Let me work the problem as a student. So let's see. To decrease aggregate demands, right? But you do this when there's inflation, when there's too much inflation. A government can either, and again, this happened in the early 1980s. So government can decrease the spending, right? You can slow it down or increase taxes. So it basically want to take money out of the system. Let me check my answer. Yeah, great job. Next, an expansionary fiscal policy shifts demand curve to the right. And again, this is what's going on with the Federal Reserve. It's been happening since 2008. They have very expansionary fiscal policy. The federal government tries to spend more money, not the Federal Reserve, because fiscal policy is the federal government spending money, or states spending up money, or local governments. So this is what the president did when he came into office. Had an expansionary policy and it shifts it to the right. Of course, again, this is, when you do this, of course, it will raise prices. There is a little inflation with this. So this is, again, one of the Keynesian activist way of stimulating the economy. You can increase government spending, shifts demand to the right. It will increase output, but there is that chance of inflation that can happen, which a lot of conservatives would not like to see. But again, we have not seen inflation for a long time. And of course, it increases real GDP. So this may be different, I think, if you take it, this question, but it's fairly straightforward, right? You need to have an expansionary or you want to have a contractionary fiscal policy. Let's go next. A graph. I love my graphs. The Chinese experiment. In 2000, the Chinese government mandated a 3-day week holiday throughout the year to stimulate 3 one-week holidays to stimulate consumer spending. The idea was that extending vacations would induce the Chinese to spend more of their earnings while on vacation. So actually the Germans have done the same thing recently. Before, you could not shop. Every store closed in Germany after, 10 o'clock on a Saturday. It closed until Monday morning. Only one pharmacy opened in a town that you could get your drugs if you needed it. But they've expanded it so there'll be more shopping because they wanted to pick up the economy. So here, use the drawing tool. Again, we got to do the appropriate ADAS. So here, it's going to give people more time to shop. Of course, that affects consumers, and then of course that affects the aggregate demand. So I'm going to use my line tool, and I'm going to shift aggregate demand out to the right. I'm going to label this aggregate demand 2, right? And then using the pointing tool, locate the new equilibrium point. And again, this is what I want to see on the final. I don't think it's that hard. The new equilibrium point is here, and they want to mark this as F or something, right? Yeah, F. Check my answer. Boom, nice work. Okay, so again, quantity goes up, but again, prices level could go up too with this expansionary policies. Let's go next. Which of the following is an entitlement program? I'm entitled to something like Social Security. I pay money into it, so it's an entitlement. I need that money, right? Medicare, Medicaid are also entitlements. Defense, now. Private investment, that's silly. Corporate income taxes, now. Social Security spending, that's an entitlement. And again, it's the largest part of the federal budget, these entitlement programs. Yeah. The states, here's a good one. The states and balanced budgets. Unlike the U.S. federal government, virtually all states have requirements that they either plan for or maintain a balanced budget, right? So they have a shortfall in taxes, they have to basically cut spending, these states. If the national economy experiences a recession, then they're going to be taking in less tax dollars, right? So let's see. State governments, yeah. Of course they get affected. Of course they get affected because they're getting less money. There's a lot of businesses will shut down in a recession. So state budgets will go into deficits since the tax revenues decline. Right? Fairly straightforward one, I think. And this is what happens, and it kind of adds on to a recession. State spending has gone down. A lot of school teachers get laid off. A lot of policemen get laid off. And again, they don't have money to spend on things. Then again, consumer spending goes down in the state, and it just adds on to a recession. Oops, there's the police in my neighborhood. I hear a siren. Shouldn't be for me. Check answer, yeah, that's okay. There goes one of those policemen. Luckily, they're out there working and drawing a paycheck. Automatic stabilizers and fluctuation in output. So again, automatic stabilizers is unemployment insurance, food stamps that kick in. Again, when there's a recession, people get laid off, they get unemployment. A lot will get food stamps. So they have that money to spend, so it stabilizes it, the GDP a little bit. Because automatic stabilizers, the states that have a more generous unemployment insurance experience, basically they have smaller fluctuations in output. Again, if unemployment insurance, I think is around 40% in this state. But if your unemployment insurance is 60% of what you would have made working, then there would be, you have more money to spend. So there'd be less fluctuation in output. Yeah, nice work. Am I done? Oh no, I got another one. A dramatic drop in the corporate tax, right? According to the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO. You can actually go to a good website for data for your paper, the CBO. Corporate tax revenues fell between 2007 and 2009 from 370 billion to 138 billion. Boom, you know, there's so much more or less money than the government had. This is why the federal deficit skyrocketed with this recession in 2008, 2009. So one explanation of that is basically they had less, revenue, right? They had less revenue, and then they had less taxes to pay. So let's see which one. Yeah, it's the first one for me. I may switch it around. The severe recession lowered the corporate profits and therefore the corporate tax revenue. A lot of corporations didn't pay any taxes for that time period because they had very little profit, sometimes went into a loss. Let me check my answer. Yeah, excellent, nice work. Next, the time taken by policymakers to recognize an economic problem and take the appropriate action is known as, oh, this is one of those 50-50 ones. It's a lag, right? Inside lag or outside lag. This is the time taken, I believe, is the outside lag. I usually never memorize 50-50 ones, but I believe I got that one right. Oh no, I got it wrong. It's inside lags. But luckily, you can do the homework as many times as you want. Maybe I should put that in the final since I messed up. Outside lags is how long it takes the policy to take effect once it's put in, right? Next, a shorter business cycle and lags, right? And again, these lags are the problem of government getting involved for these free market guys. Government puts themselves in and takes too long to come up with a policy, takes too long to implement for the policy to be effective, where it be working against what it's supposed to be doing. So here, shorter business cycles and lags. Suppose the typical business cycle becomes even shorter. This makes the conduct of active fiscal policy, right? It will make it harder, right? Because now lags can do more potentially harm than good, right? Yeah, good job. Fine, next, I think that's it. All right, so work your way through these things. Again, this business cycle and lags, what's, again, the conservative, non-activist economists will talk about how the government shouldn't get involved in the free market because of these specific inside and outside lags, where, again, the activist economist, the more liberal economist, will say that um, the government has to get involved because there are all these sticky prices, sticky wages. The free market doesn't self-adjust really quickly. It takes too long for the markets to self-adjust. Where again, as Keynes says, we'll be dead in the end by the time they self-correct. So the government has to get involved. It's the eternal debate. Watch the Republican debate tonight on TV. This is Tuesday night, which probably don't want to look at this until after till the weekend. But it should be interesting what the Republicans come up with tonight. They're going to talk about economics, and they will be talking about government is the problem and government regulation, high government spending. They crowd out other investments. They make bad investments, the government, because they're not working with just the free market supply and demand. So government should get out of regulating business, get out of stimulating the economy, and leave it to the free market supply and demand. It's too complex for the government to know. Even if the government tries to know, these inside and outside lags make it so they're not effective. So for the test, remember there will be a question on activist versus non-activist economic models. All right. Email me if you got a question.